Barefoot rice and peas is not necessarily something I grew up on, but we'll talk more about that in a bit. Even though this is a big Jamaican thing, I only really learned about it in my adult life. The term barefoot in the name probably comes from the humility of the dish. Barefoot rice and peas is a flavorful one pot meal where we cook the rice and the protein together. Combining both means we can stretch the ingredients and stretch the meal a little further. Let's jump right into the cooking. I need a cup of red peas. Yes, these are actually red peas, hence the name rice and peas instead of rice and beans. Kidney beans are also common for rice and peas, but that's largely outside of Jamaica. I talk about that at length in my rice and peas video, so check that out if you're interested. For now, I'm going to wash these and add them to the pot. I'm adding about 3.5 cups of water. You always want to start with a little extra because this will reduce a lot while cooking. At this point, we usually season the cooking water with a variety of popular Jamaican aromatics. A neat shortcut that doesn't sacrifice flavor is using a bit of green season. Check the link in the description. Green season conveniently adds flavor, especially if you have a stash in your fridge or freezer. I'm starting with 2 tablespoons. Place the peas on medium heat to cook for about 45 minutes or until soft. Jamaicans call this step sinking the peas, and a lot of us do it religiously. When the peas are boiling, they sometimes stay floating on the top of the water and end up cooking unevenly. Adding a splash of cold water make them drop to the bottom, hence the name sinking the peas. It's not something I really do, I just put my peas to boil and forget about them until they're ready. But I still find the tradition very interesting. Now for our protein. Salted beef and salted pig's tail are really common options for barefoot rice and peas. I'm going to use both. These are 8-ounce packages. Traditionally, these would have been cheaper and more accessible. Before refrigeration, salting was a popular way to preserve meat and fish in Jamaica. Even after refrigeration became more widespread, salted foods were usually cheaper than their fresh or frozen counterparts, so they were more popular among middle and lower class Jamaicans. Nowadays though, salted protein is actually more expensive than fresh, and what used to be considered poor people food has shifted into cultural delicacies. Before doing anything else, I'm cutting these into bite-sized pieces. That pink color you see comes from nitrates in curing salts. Speaking of salt, we need to remove most of it from our meat. A lot sits on the outside, so rinsing with cold water helps. I like to rinse until the water runs clear. That's usually 4 or 5 rinses. The meat will still be salty though, so the next step is boiling. Place the rinsed meat in a pot, cover with water and add some flavor at the same time. 2 scotch bonnets, a few cloves of garlic and about a tablespoon of dried pimento or allspice. Cover it up and boil. This both removes the excess salt and cooks the meat. Luckily, they both take about the same amount of time. I'm excited because I think this is going to be really great. You wanna know what else is really great? The recipe app I've been using recently. This app is a real godsend for people who love cooking and saving recipes. You can organize your recipes and even build meal plans from them. My favorite feature has to be saving recipes straight from social media. Like I found this really good coleslaw recipe on TikTok. All I had to do was share it to the recipe app and it handled the rest. It pulled the ingredients list, the instructions and even gave me the nutrition breakdown. That's seriously impressive. And I can still edit recipes and adjust portions easily. Another fun feature is the grocery list. Just turn any recipe into a shopping list right in the app. It's basically the perfect combo. Meal planner and grocery list in one. That's recipe. I will leave a link in the description so you can check it out. That peas is almost ready and you can see how much the water has reduced. Add more if necessary. As for salted meat, it's almost cooked but it's still very salty, so I'm going to change the water. This time I'm adding less water. I don't want it totally fresh, and since water leaches flavor, using less helps with flavor retention. No, just let that cook until the meat is tender. Usually at this point the meat goes straight into the rice and peas as is. But I think that's a missed opportunity to add flavor. So I'm placing my pot back on the fire, add a splash of oil, then a big tablespoon of green seasoning. That's going to punch up the flavor. After sauteing that for a few minutes, add the meat back to the pot. This infuses extra flavor and keep the meat from tasting boiled. It really elevates the dish. That looks real good. Our peas is finally ready, so let's set that aside for now. There's roughly a cup and a half of liquid left in our peas. To that, I'm adding a cup of fresh coconut milk. This is key in any rice and peas. It's what gives us that rich, nutty flavor. To really develop those flavors, we need to boil the milk a bit, so cover it up and let it go for another 10 to 15 minutes. Once that milk is cooked, I'm going to add a tablespoon of optional homemade browning. Homemade browning brings a subtle smoky note, but I'm mainly using it for the color. At this stage, it's a good time to taste and adjust the seasoning. All it needs is a pinch of salt, but keep in mind the salted meat will also season the dish, so balance carefully. My meat is almost fresh after boiling, so I'm just seasoning as I normally would. Now for the finishing aromatics. This is a stalk of smashed scallion. These are going to really liven up the flavors of the finished dish. 2 whole Scotch bonnet peppers. Make sure you don't burst them. A couple of bay leaves, and finally some fresh thyme. You guys have been asking about merch for a while. I hit a couple of roadblocks, but I'm still working on it. Those flavors are coming together nicely. Our peas are ready and everything is seasoned. So now let's talk about the rice. Most long grain rice works great for this recipe, but today I'm using basmati. I find it a bit more forgiving. You still get good results if you slightly undershoot or overshoot the liquid. I have roughly 2.5 cups of water in my pot, so I'm going to use a cup and a half of basmati rice. Give it a proper wash, then add it to the pot. That looks real good. Now, let's add the sauteed meat. Make sure you scrape all of that fond into the pot. Wasting flavor is a sin. All that's left now is to cover it up and let it steam on very low for about 20 to 30 minutes. The term barefoot probably refers to the simplicity and humility of the dish. Barefoot suggests something stripped down and basic. I remember my mom making this with saltfish, and I'm guessing the different variations came about for the same reason. A one-pot meal that could stretch ingredients and feed more people. When I think of barefoot, it just reflects the idea of humble. No fuss cooking meals made with what's on hand and kept simple but still satisfying. After about 20 minutes of steaming on low, our barefoot rice and peas is ready. The aroma, seasoned nutty coconut is irresistible. Before beginning, I'm just going to remove all the aromatics. Leaving them whole gives that scotchy flavor without the heat. But if they break, all that heat gets released. Now we can fluff the rice. This releases steam and evens out the texture. Yes man, that looks amazing. Honestly, it didn't even need the browning for color. Let's give it a taste and see how we did. The flavor is so rich and nutty, and that sauteed meat really makes a big difference. I've tried barefoot rice and peas without that step, and trust me, it's a world of difference. Even though this is a one pot meal, a few slices of fried plantain are always welcome. That caramelized sweetness perfectly balances the savory flavors. That is it. a hearty, delicious one-pot meal that doesn't need anything extra. Let me know in the comments how you enjoy your barefoot rice and peas and what you would pair it with. I love seeing your twist on these recipes. I'm Nick. This has been delicious. Big thanks to our patrons who keep us cooking. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Jamaican flavors. Thanks for watching. Bless up, and I'll catch you in the next one.